Hello dear friends, welcome back to MACSGATE. One second. Okay. Hello dear friends, welcome back to MACSGATE. Oh, right. Dear friends, welcome back to MACSGATE. So in the last session we started this data types and variables. It is part 2 of data types and variables. So in the previous part we discussed about scalars, and today we start with the non-scalars, and mainly we talk about strings and type conversion. So before that, I quickly review this particular topic, that is scalars, very quickly. We try to overview what we done in the previous class, that is yesterday's class. Then we move on to the next topic, that is topic for today, right? So we know that Python is a dynamically typed language. What does it mean? So here I don't have to explicitly declare the type of the variable. Okay, by the value at runtime, this particular variable is converted to an integer type. So this variable A is referencing this particular object 10. Suppose if I say B is equal to say 10.56. So at runtime, based on this particular value, B will be referencing to this particular float object. Is that clear? And you can change the type. For example, later on I can convert this A to string type also. Is that clear? So here, based on the value, the type of the variable will be decided at runtime. So it is what you mean by dynamically typed language. So in contrast to the statically typed languages like C, C++, Java or C hash, where we need to explicitly declare the type of the variable. But here it happens at runtime. So because of that, we call it as Python is dynamically typed language. Is that clear? And if you see the types of or data types in Python, we can classify them as built-in data types and user-defined data types. The built-in data types can be classified as scalars and non-scalars. Okay, non-scalars, today we are going to start with that, but in this quick review, I'll just tell you about this scalars, that is int, float, complex, bool and none. In the previous class, I completely discussed the details about these scalars. You can just go through the previous session. See, even if you not attended the previous session, if you continue, you will easily understand. That is the beauty of Python language, right? And here all these scalars are immutable. So I'll try to explain this particular concept of immutability today. Then we continue with topic of today, that is strings and type conversion. Is that clear? Okay. Now look here, we are having integer variables. So here A is referencing to 10, and for every variable there is a type. So by type you understand it is integer type, and there is an ID. ID means the memory address. So for every object, actually for every object we are having type and value, and of course the ID, that is memory address. Is that clear? So this is the memory address allocated to A. And similarly, we can define the float variables. We can define the float variables. So for example, float variable, you can say 23.456. Okay, this is a float variable. Then you can find the type. So here you not declare the type of the variable, but it happens at the runtime. At runtime, based on the value, this particular object is identified as the float object, and this variable is referencing that particular object. Please remember, here the float variable, it is a variable, it is just a reference to that particular object. So here this is important, object is important. Float variable, that is variable is just reference to an object. So that is important point to be noted. So in Python, variable is just a name that refers to a specific object in the memory. Okay, in Python, this is very important point to be noted. Multiple references to the same object are allowed. We can have multiple references to the same object. Let us try to see this. Suppose you are having a is equal to 10. You can say b is equal to 10. Or we can say b is equal to a, and you can also say that c is equal to a. You can also say that c is equal to a. So if you see the ID of all these fellows, if you print ID of all these fellows, what happens? The ID of a and ID of b and ID of c, they all will be one and the same. So all are referring to the same object. That is, here what is actually happening, sir? What is actually happening? Here we are having object 10. A is referring to this object 10. B is also referring to this object 10. C is also referring to this particular object 10. So here in Python, multiple references to the same object are possible. Now when you are having multiple variables referring to the same object, suppose using one variable, see actually what we done, a is equal to 10 you done, and b is equal to a you done, and c is equal to a you done. Now suppose if you try to change the value of the object using this variable a, what happens? Automatically the b and c values also will change. They also get affected, but I don't want them to be get affected. Okay, so in such situation what happens? In such situation what happens? If you keep the objects in such a way that their values can be changed by one of the variables, you will be having problem. Okay, so here this particular concept of multiple references actually improves the memory utilization, because for every variable you are not creating separate object in the memory. For every variable you are not separately creating the object in the memory. And secondly, performance can be improved, because searching for an object is because in a particular program hardly will be having few objects. So searching for an object takes less time than creating an object. So in such situation, this multiple references is very good, but there is a problem when multiple variables reference to the same object. By using one reference, if you are allowed to change the content, the existing object, then the remaining references will be get affected. They are having problem because I don't want the remaining references to change their value. Okay, so to avoid this or to prevent this, okay, we use the concept of immutability. The concept of immutability is mainly used for this particular purpose. Okay, so let us see this. What is immutability, sir? What is immutability? An immutable object refers to an object whose state or content or value, whatever you call it, cannot be modified after it is created. So this particular object value cannot be changed. Such an object is called immutable object. See, in this particular situation, if I say a is equal to 20, if I say a is equal to 20, what should happen, sir? Initially a is referring to 10, b is referring to 10, c is also referring to 10. When I say a is equal to 20, the reference of a is only changed. This object is not modifiable. This value cannot be changed. You cannot change the state or content of that particular object. Such object is called immutable object. Such object is called immutable object, or this particular concept is called immutability. And suppose you want to change the content, a new object need to be created, and this fellow should refer to this particular new object. So this is the concept of immutability. Okay. So an immutable object refers to an object whose state or content cannot be modified after it is created. Okay. If we are trying to change, then with those changes a new object will be created. Okay, and this non-changeable behavior is what is called as immutability. See, for example, if you see A is equal to 10 and say B is equal to A, okay, and you see ID of A and B, you can see ID, I think we already done, no? So same thing, let us not redo it because already it is done here. The same values can be used. A, B are already used, so let me use here itself. Now suppose if I make A is equal to 20, now let me print ID of A, B and C here. Let me print ID of A, B and C here. Let us see this. So in this case, what happens? You see only the ID of A is changed. That is, A is referring to a new object. B, C are still referring to the old content only, because the content or the object 10 cannot be changed. During its lifetime, its ID is the same thing. Okay, its content cannot be changed. Am I clear? So that is the idea of immutability, my dear friends. So immutability is mainly used for this particular purpose. Immutability is mainly used for this particular purpose. That is non-changing behavior. That is, the value of object cannot be changed. Suppose if I need to change the value, I need to create a new object, and this variable will reference to the new object. Variable will reference to the new object. That is the idea of immutability, my dear friends. Is that clear? And there is one more very interesting part in Python. For example, if you see A is equal to 10 and you say B is equal to 10. Now here you are creating a new object B. You are creating a new object. Let us not use 10 always. Let us use something else. Let us say 200. Let us say 200 here. Now here A and B are referring to two objects. But if you see the value 200, same value. So they are referring to same value. Now the question is whether they are referring to the same object or not. So for that, you can just check the ID of A as well as ID of B. You can check ID of A and ID of B, and here they are referring to the same object. They are referring to the same object. That is, if I take 200 I taken and 200 I taken, A is 200 means A is referring to 200, B is 200 means B is referring to 200, but it is actually not a different object. It is not actually a different object. B is also referring to the same object. Am I clear? That is, we are reusing the same object. We are reusing the same object. But what I do is, I just change this value to 257. I just change this value to 257. What happens? But here you see they are referring to different object. So here the reusing of the objects is not possible. The reusing of the object is not possible for every object, sir. There are some objects, okay, which are defined when the Python interpreter starts. Is that clear? For those objects, this reusability can be done. For those objects, this reusability can be done. So here when A is 257, B is 257, it is a different object, my dear friends. It is a different object, my dear friends. Please note that. So reusing of the same object is defined only in the following ranges. For integers 0 to 256, so once you create an object with any value from 0 to 256 both included, then if any other object or any other variable is assigned same value, then that particular variable also refers to the same object. But if it is beyond this range, a new object will be always created. Please note that. And when it is bool, that is true false, always, that is whenever it is true, the object is fixed for that, and whenever it is false, the object is fixed for that. Okay. And string, so we are going to discuss about string now. Okay, even for string, always once a string is created, if you have created another variable with or for another variable, if you assign the same string, what happens, it will reference to the same object. We try to understand this with examples when I discuss about the strings. Is that clear? And remaining all objects, for remaining all objects, what happens? Objects are created at runtime. See, I want you to understand this. See, when I say A is equal to 20, B is equal to A. See, when I say B is equal to A, you are forcing B to reference to the same object. In this case, whether it is 20 or 200, it does not matter. Even if you say 2000 and B is equal to A, here A and B will reference obviously to the same object, because you are forcefully making B to reference A here. We are forcefully making B to reference A. So here if you do print of IDA and IDB, what happens here? You get the same address. Why? Here you get the same address because here you are forcefully making B is equal to A. But if I say B is equal to 2000, it is a different object. It is a different object. Am I clear? So here you see the addresses are different. But if it is within the range of 0 to 256, even though you try to create two separate objects, because that is within the range, they both refer to the same object. So that is the idea which I want you to understand. So this is what we discussed yesterday. So let us continue from here, my dear friends. So this is about scalars. Clear? So now let us start with the non-scalars, and today's topic we are mainly interested in talking about strings. Okay, and I'll just recap. Data types are classified as built-in data types and user-defined data types, and built-in data types are in turn classified as scalars and non-scalars. Clear? Now if you see that scalars can be classified as numbers and none. We already completed this part in the last class and I already reviewed it. So int, float, complex bool and none are the scalars. Then we have non-scalars or container types. Some people also call them as collections or composite types. Non-scalars also you can call it. And these non-scalars can be further classified as sequences, mappings and sets. Sequences and mappings and sets. Let us see this now. Now we are talking about non-scalars or containers. So what is a container, sir? An object that contains references to other objects. So here it is an object which contain references to other objects is what is called as container. Am I clear? It is called as what? Container. Or collection is called as what? Collection or container. Or here in a simple terminology you can also call them as non-scalars. Scalars are like numbers or none, whereas non-scalars are people also call them as composite types. People also call them as composite types. Am I clear? So these non-scalars can be classified as what, sir? Sequences. Sequences are actually ordered collections. And we are also having mapping and sets. Mapping and sets are non-ordered collection, whereas dictionary we are having key order pair or key value pairs. Set is unordered collection of elements. Am I clear? So that is the basic idea. So now let us talk about sequences. Okay. So today we mainly talk about strings, my dear friends. In the next class we try to discuss about the other sequences. Clear? Now let us understand what is a sequence. Let us understand what is a sequence. A sequence is an ordered container of item indexed by integers. Actually, in other programming languages, sequences are indexed by non-negative integers. Generally, they start from 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. Here I purposefully mentioned indexed by integers because here the indices can be 0, 1, 2 or you can also have negative indices. So that is one more very interesting concept which we need to study. Clear? See here, of course, this particular table which I given, please remember, because this table is very, very important. So these are some common operations you see for every sequence type. Let it be string, list, tuple, byte arrays, okay, or range. For everything, these are the common operations, my dear friends. So for one of the type or for one of the sequence, if you properly understand, like if you understand this indexing, slicing, okay, remaining are simple operations, sir. If you understand these operations for one of the sequence type, then for all other types, the story will be exactly same. Okay. So here I am not going to explain, don't worry, because for strings, I am going to explain all these operators. They are like indexing operator, slicing operator, extended slicing operator, the length function we can apply, the min and max function we can apply, and you can say all in that sequence, whether all of them are true or any one of them is true, you can find out. Then you can do concatenation of two sequences. You can do, repetition of the sequence. See, I'm saying sequence. When I say sequence, it can be a string, it can be a list, it can be a tuple, it can be a range, it can be bytes, or it can be byte array. All these are called sequence types. For all the sequences, these operations are common, sir. Okay, so for one of the type, if you properly understand these operations, for remaining all other sequence type, these operations are common. So please note this. Okay, so don't have to remember them, sir. Okay, just as an overview, you have to understand. Sequence means it is an ordered container of items, where ordered means what? We can, you can access the elements by indices. You can access the elements by indices, or the elements are ordered by indices. Because of that, we call them as ordered. Am I clear? So that is the point to be noted here. Clear? Now comes the most important fellow, that is string. String object. See, actually we already started this strings earlier, but we talked about, like, string literals, printing hello world, all this we already used. Am I clear? So what is a string, sir? A string is sequence of characters. It is a sequence of characters enclosed within either single quotes, yeah, double quotes, or triple quotes. Please note this, sir. So what is a string, sir? Okay, string variable, I take it. So what is it? It is sequence of characters which are enclosed within single quotes. Okay, I'll write my name here, Sridhar. This is a string. Okay, you can write this string within double quotes also. You can write the string within the double quotes also. It is the same thing, sir. There is no change in this. Or you can write the string in triple quotes also. So triple quotes means you can have triple single quotes, or we can have triple double quotes. See, actually this the advantage of triple quotes is you can write this string in multiple lines. The string can be written in multiple lines. Okay, my name is Sridhar. You can write the string in multiple lines. That is the advantage of using triple quotes. See, actually the triple quotes are mainly used for, doc strings. That is for documentation purpose. They are mainly used, documenting functions, modules, packages, etc. They are mainly used, but normally for strings also you can use, my dear friends. Am I clear? So that is the advantage of the triple quotes, where the string literal can be extended over the multiple lines. We can extend the string literal over the multiple lines. That is the advantage of string variable. So there is nothing wrong. All are properly, executed. You want, you can print these variables, my dear friends. You can print all these variables one after the other. Okay, so let us name them separately, like string variable 1, string variable 2, string variable 3, and string variable 4. So even this I extend it over multiple lines. My name is Sridhar. Okay, so I just write all these or print all these variables: sv1, sv2, sv3, sv4. String variable 1, string variable 2, string variable 3, and string variable 4. So what happens? Let me print it. Okay, so now what happens here, after this string Sridhar, they are printed in the same line, because you not mentioned what is the separator. Okay, so separator, if you mention separately, like \n, they might be printed in new lines. So let me do this. So here you see, first one Sridhar, second one is Sridhar, and for this my name is Sridhar. So I just separated in 3 lines, you get that in 3 lines. Here this fellow also, we get it in 3 or 4 lines. How many lines you separate or you created, that many lines it will be printed. Am I clear? So this is about the string. So what is a string, sir? A string is a sequence of characters enclosed within single quotes, double quotes or triple quotes. And together with the strings, we can also have this escape sequences like \n, \t. Okay, actually, normally in programming languages like C, C++ or Java, we need to use these escape sequences so that we can print single quote. For example, within this Sridhar's formula you want to print. So you have to write it like this. Okay. So then what happens, this first phase will be printed. Am I clear? So let us see this. So this single quote if you want to print, but if you are using double quote, within that I can use single quote without \. character. I can directly use Sridhar's formula. I can directly use without \. formula. You can see this Sridhar's formula. Is that clear? So if you are using a single quote within double quote, there is no need of using \. character. And if you are using within triple quotes, there is no need of using any \. character except this \n or \t, my dear friends. Okay, even the tab character you can directly do it. Is that clear? So that is how we can manage the strings. So in basic or in other programming languages, we spend some time on this \. character escape sequences, but in Python you don't have to worry much about this \. characters. Mainly worry about this \n and \t only. That is enough. Am I clear? Is that clear, sir? If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Right. Now look here. A string is sequence of characters enclosed within single quotes, double quote or triple quotes. The same type of quote used to start a string must be used to terminate it. See, for example, in this, I started with a single quote, but I ended with a double quote. It will be a syntax error, because unterminating string literal, because you started with single quote but ended with double quote. So you need to be very careful. Of course, here we are having an advantage, like we can use single quote, double quote or triple quote, but there is a disadvantage. Instead of using same terminating quote, then what happens? There will be a syntax error. So you have to be very careful with what you started. Okay, you should use same terminating quote, my dear friend. If you start with single quote, you have to end with single quote. Start with double quote, you have to end with double quote. Start with triple quote, you have to end with triple quote. Right? Now, one more very interesting concept here. The Python does not provide a character data type. You don't have a single character. If you want a single character, what we need to do? That single character is also represented. That single character is also represented. Let me correct this first of all. Okay. So if you want, single character, what you need to do? You have to write that character within single quote, double quote or triple quote. So it is sequence of one character is character variable. There is no separate character variable in Python, sir. We have to use what? String only to create character variable. Please note that point, my dear friends. And one more important thing is, here we are having this indexing operator. Indexing operator. And before that, I just want you to understand. Suppose I created string variable 1, which is hello. And I want to create another variable, string variable 2, which is also hello. So what happens in the memory? What happens actually when you create a string variable hello? So what happens? So it is having this particular character H, E, okay, or actually it is a single character, immutable, so it will not change like this. For string it is like this. For string it is like this. HELLO. Okay. So now what happened when you say string variable 1? So it is referring to this particular object. Now I created string variable 2 where it is also hello. Now I want to check whether both are referring to the same object or not. Okay, both are referring to the same object or not, because I already mentioned for string variable always same object will be reused. So let us verify that. So let us print id of string variable 1 and id of string variable 2. So you see both are referring to the same object. You take any big string here, sir. You take any big string, but it should be same string. Don't write small w and large W, that will be different. You take any string here and you run this. They both will refer. I think there is some space in between we use. Maybe some issue here. Without space, let us try this. The space character may be different. Yeah, without space. Okay. So they are referring to the same. They are referring to the same object. For string, what happened? They'll refer to the same object. Please note that particular point. Now let us come to this very important concept called indexing operator. See, it is actually a sequence. So sequence means we can access the elements using index. So strings are stored as sequence of characters indexed by integers. So here the index can be either positive or negative. You can have positive index or negative index. So I want you to understand this point, sir. Look at this example. Here I created a string name Python. Let me run this. Okay. So what happens in the memory? Suppose this is Python. This is how it is stored. Now look here. There are two types of indexing. One is called forward indexing. The other one is called backward indexing. Let me explain this, then come back to this. Let me explain this. So when you created this particular string, Python, so here we are having forward indexing where, so the first letter is indexed by 0. Am I clear? Suppose the name of this is name. Na? So this is name. It is referring to this particular string object. So how can you access P, sir? P can be accessed like this. You can access P like name with index 0. So if you print this, P will be printed. How can you access this second character? You can access that with the index 1, name 1. So it is similar to like, accessing array elements, my dear friends. Okay. But there is a difference. Name, what happens? How to access this fellow? 2. And similarly, how to access the last character, sir? Name 5. Now, what is very interesting point here is, I want you to understand this. Here we can also access using the negative index. Okay, negative index. Name -1 means what, sir? So this character can be accessed either with index 5 or with index -1. So this will give you what? So when you print name -1, you can get this value n or the character n. Similarly, name, it goes from -1 to the negative side, -1, -2, -3. So this fellow is -2, this fellow is -3, that is at index -3, this fellow is at -4 index, this fellow is at index -5, and this fellow is at index -6. So if you want, you can compare, sir, name 0 is equal to name -6 or not. Both will be the same characters. You can compare the characters like that. So here in Python, we are having positive as well as negative indexing, or you can call it as forward indexing and backward indexing. Please remember, forward indexing starts at 0, 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, whereas backward indexing starts at -. Please note that, my dear friends. Okay, so let us come back to this because we already used this. Okay, So here you can see this forward index starts from 0 and backward index starts from -1. Trying to access a character out of index range will raise an index error. And here we are having bounds. Okay, so in C programming there is no bound checks, but here out of index if you go, you will get index error. So please be careful. So here you want to access name 6, it is an index error. Please remember, you cannot go out of the bounds. So the index must be within the range, my dear friends. You can use forward indexing or backward indexing, but that must be within the range. You cannot access like name -7. Even this will give you an index error. Please note that. Let us check that. Okay, let us check this here only. So now let me print name 0. What will be printed, sir? P is printed. Okay, now you can print name 5. Name 5 means what? N is printed. Now try to print name 6. What happens? String index out of range. So this is the index error happening. So you cannot go out of the bounds, my dear friends. So within the range you have to take the values. Is that clear? Clear or not? Now you can also access with backward indexing. So -1 means what, sir? It is N. So -2 means what, sir? It is what? What is it? O. -5 means what? You just start calculating like this, sir. -1, -2, -3, -4, sorry, -5. So -5 means what? Y. So you are going to get. So it is better to write like this, sir. If you write like this, so with this index what you are going to get? With this index you are going to get the character N. With this index you are going to get character O. With this index you are going to get character H, and so on. Is that clear? Please note that. And you cannot go out of the bounds, my dear friends, because that is an error. Please note that point. So trying to access a character out of index range will raise an index error, my dear friends. So you can experiment with big values like this course Python program. Okay, even for this you see this here you are having a big string. Now here also let us run this and experiment with this. So what I want to access, so here the name of the or the variable which I used is for that string object is course. So with course I can access. So here indices are from what to what, sir? 0 to 13, right? So if I say course 0, what will be printed? Capital P is printed. Course 6, what will be printed? This is a space character. Is that clear? And up to 13 you can print it. Course 13. Now I want to check course 13 is equal to course -1. So what happens? It is true because course 13 or course -1 both, because here you see course 13, that is at 13 index we are having M, or at -1 index also you are having M. So you can use backward indexing or forward indexing. See, this is valid for all the sequences. Later on you are talking about list, tuple, range, bytes, byte array. For everything this indexing is possible, my dear friends. If you understand indexing here, for all other sequence type the story is exactly same. The story is exactly the same. Is that clear? Hope you understand. Now comes the immutability of the strings. Strings are immutable. So far what are the objects we know, sir? We know all these scalars like int, float, complex, bool and none. These are immutable objects. Now this string is also immutable. Immutable means what, sir? Suppose if I want to change this particular, for example here you see there is a space character. So I want to change that space character with hyphen. I try that, but that is not possible. You cannot change it because it is an immutable object. String object does not support item assignment. You cannot do that. Whereas if it is a list, this is possible, but here for strings it is not possible. So what I want is, I want to create a string object. Okay, what is that string literal, sir? Python hyphen program. So what I do is, I just see what I do is, I'll just check this. What is the ID of this course? This is the ID of this course. Now what I am doing is same Python program, but what I done here is same Python program, that space I removed and I changed it with hyphen. This is possible because you created a new object. What happens initially, this particular course? So here what happens is, let me just show you. See, initially course is pointing to this or referring to this particular string object, but later on when you changed Python hyphen program, what happened? A new object is created and this course now refers to the new object. See, immutability does not mean course cannot be changed to new object, sir. Only thing is object cannot be changed. You can change the reference of this particular variable. Variable reference can be changed. Only thing which you cannot change is the object. Object will remain the same. Object will remain the same. The ID of the object will remain the same. Only thing is this course variable reference will change. That is what going to happen. Okay. So if you want, you can just check this. The ID of this, let us check the ID of this, sir. Let us check ID of this course now. This will be different from previous side. So previously it is at 4960, now it is at 6464. The ID is changed, that is, it is referring to a new object. So immutability means object value cannot be changed. Variables are just the references. Their reference can be changed, sir. Please note that. Am I clear? So here we cannot change that, that space character with hyphen character, you cannot do it. That is, you cannot do item assignments. You cannot do item assignments using strings. Please note that, because it is an immutable object. Is that clear? Now comes the most important fellow, that is called slicing operator. And in your examination, mostly questions comes from this particular slicing, my dear friends. Slicing operator is the most important concept. Is that clear? Slicing is the most important concept. So slice means what, sir? Piece. Slice means a piece. Slicing operator, this one we already used for indexing also. The same, the square brackets, we call them as slicing operator, is used to extract a substring. Okay, that is to retrieve a part of the string. To retrieve a part of the string. You want, you can just write down. To retrieve a part of the string. Let me type that. Substring means part of a string. So using slicing operator, you can retrieve part of a string, my dear friends. And this is the syntax of this. Okay, suppose S is the string variable. So here we are having I is the start, J is actually end, but up to J index we are not going to get the substring, sir. Up to J minus 1 we are going to get the substring. So what this Sij will do, it extract all the characters from the string S whose index K is in the range I included but J not included. That is 1 less than J. So all the characters from I up to J minus 1, they are all extracted, my dear friends. See, extracted in the sense that particular part will be that particular string. If you want, you can print it. Original object does not change, sir. The original variable reference also does not change. Object anyhow does not change. It is immutable, fellow. Even the variable reference also does not change. Only thing is a substring will be created. That is, another object is created. Another substring means another object is created. So that particular object, if you assign, that is, it is a string literal, it is an object. So to that, if you want, you can assign a new variable. That can be done. Please note that. Okay. So let us experiment with this, my dear friends. Let us experiment with this. So course Python program. So this one is there. So we need to experiment with this slicing operator. So before that, let me explain with the example, then we move on to the program. Okay, so here the name of this is suppose course. What is the name of this? Name of this object? Course. That is, we are referencing this particular object using the variable course. Course is the variable, it is referencing this particular object. Now we already seen with course, if I use any index, I can directly get that particular character. Course 6 means it is a space character. Course 8 means what is it? It is character R. Now if I use this slicing operator, say 3:9. So starting from index 3 up to 9 minus 1 up to 8, this particular substring you are going to get. That is what you are going to get, sir. The string hon space PR. So this is what the slicing operator is going to do. So it is going to create a substring from the given string. Am I clear? It is going to create a substring from the given string. See, logically you try to understand, later on program will do the same thing, sir. Please try to understand this logically. Later on in the program, exactly the same thing will happen. You can try this, sir. Course, now what I do? You start at 0 and you go up to 13. So don't think that entire string will be printed. 13 means up to 12. That is, up to here the string will be printed. The entire string will not be printed. Please note that, because 13 means 1 less than that. So what it will print, sir? It will print Python space program. Okay, so that is what happens. Now, actually in the slicing operator, you can specify the start index, and what if I don't specify the end index? What if I don't specify the end index? See, if I don't specify the end index, by default it will take the entire string, my dear friends. It will take the entire string. So here you are going to get the entire string, Python program. The entire string you are going to get. Now one more interesting thing is, here with this slicing operator, you can also go beyond this index. Even if you go beyond the index, by default it will take the last, up to last index, it will take the values, my dear friends. So there is, by mistake if you write it some very large value, it does not matter, my dear friends. The same story you can do. Suppose if you miss the start index, by default it starts from 0, and you can write the end index like this. So automatically if you miss this, it automatically take it as 0. So it starts with Python. Even here it is same thing, sir. Python program, previous one is exactly same. If you go out of the range, there is no problem. So here what happens? Up to 7 means what? 7 minus 1. Up to 6, everything is printed. That is Python space is printed. Clear? So you can provide in the slicing operator, you can provide start index and end index. If you skip the start index, automatically it starts from 0. If you skip the end index, automatically till the end plus 1 it will take. Automatically it will take end plus 1. See, in the beginning, suppose if you give a very large index, okay, sorry, at the end if you give a very large index, by default it will be taking as last but 1. That is, the entire string will be printed, my dear friends. So that is the story. So let us experiment with this first, then we move on to the negative indexing also. We can also work with negative indexing, sir. So let us see this, sir. And mostly the questions comes from this slicing operator only, my dear friends. In your examination, most important question is slicing operator. Slicing is the most important question, whether it is your GATE examination or any other examination. Slicing is most important. So they generally ask questions on slicing. So if you can properly explore slicing operator, most of the concepts will be very, very clear, my dear friends. Okay. Now what happens? 0:6. Suppose if I do 0:6, what happens? I get 0 to 6. You see, Python. 6 means what? 6 is actually space, but 6 minus 1, end minus 1, up to here, Python will be printed. Is that clear? Please note that. Please note that. So I'll just use this print. Okay, the string directly without quotes it will be printed. Okay, so let me try this different fellows. Now what I do, I change it as 17. I go beyond the limits. No problem, sir. If you take proper end, okay, no problem. Or if you go beyond the index also, here there is no problem. It does not mean that you are going to get characters or some garbage character. It's not like that. It will automatically terminate till the end of the string, my dear friends. By default, it takes only till the end of the string. If you go beyond this, there is no problem. Now let us try this. Now suppose I skip the start value, start index value. No problem, automatically it starts from 5. Okay, now I keep start index but I not return the end index. What happens? It will give you the entire one. Am I clear? Now I am having another doubt. What if I skip both fellows? What if I skip both start and end? So by default, start and end will be taken, my dear friend. By default, start and end will be taken. No problem. Is that clear? And you can write some other indices like not always starting from 0, sir. You can start from 5, you can go up to 8. Even that can be printed. 5 to 8 means what, sir? N space P will be printed. N space capital P will be printed. So you can experiment with this slicing operator because it is one of the important operator, my dear friends. Whatever examination it is. Am I clear? This is one of the most important operator. Okay, please experiment with this as much as possible. As much as possible. Is that clear? So you can try anything, sir. 3 to 4 or 3 to 3. Let us see what happens. So 3 to 3 means 3 to 3 minus 1. That is 3 to 2. It is not possible. No? So that's why you are not getting any string here, sir. Okay, 3 to 4 it will print something. 3 to 4 it will print something. See, my dear friend, suppose if you do something illegal or single character, because the indexing must be at least there is a difference of 1 between this start and end index, then only a character will be printed. If you give no difference between start and end index, empty string will be printed, sir. Empty string will be printed. Please note that point. Is that clear? That is the idea. Clear? Now what about the negative indexing? Because we also have this negative indexing now, so let us try with the negative indexing. So it is of course. What if I use the negative indexing? See, please try to understand, this is -1, this is -2. See, whenever you are giving the start and end indices, from lower part to upper part you have to print it. See, for example, you want to print from -1 to -5, it does not happen. Because here, even though indexing wise it is going this side, but we always print the characters from right to left, from left to right only. So here it will not give you any output, my dear friends. No output would be given. If you want to print from here till here, then you can take course -5 to -1. This will print ORGRA, because -1 means 1 less than that. So that is what going to happen. Is that clear? See, you can experiment with this, sir. See, you just need to see, instead of using these indices, you are using these indices. Nothing more than that. Please note that instead of using, what is happening for this? One second. Instead of using these indices, you are using these indices. That's it. Nothing more than that. Am I clear? Always see from left to right. Always see from left to right. And one more interesting thing, let me tell you. For example, if I mix and match 5 here and -4 here, does it work? Of course it works. 5 to -4. 5 means what, sir? N space capital P R O. 1 less than this means it stops here. Okay. So let us experiment with this negative indices. Let us experiment with this negative indices, my dear friends. So the same course, okay, let me take the same print, but this time what I do, As I told you, let me start from -1 to -6, but it will not print anything. As I mentioned, you need to go from lower side to upper side, that is left to right you need to do. Okay, suppose if I print from -6 to -1, what happens? -6 to -1 if I print, what happens? Then it will properly print that particular output. -6 means here R, O, G, R, A, and -1 means 1 less than that, end -1. So 1 index less than that. Now suppose if I use 0 to -7. So 0 is here, -7 is here, 1 less than that. So Python space should be printed. Let us see that. So Python space is printed. Is that clear? You can try different fellows. -9 let us print. -9 means up to Python it will be printed. Up to Python it will print. So you can use this negative and positive index combination also, my dear friends. Negative and positive index combination also. But one important thing, if I use -1 on the left side, what happens? See, when I use -1 on the left side, what happens? See, because you started here, M is printed. After that right side, there are no characters. So automatically end is taken here. But if I take -14, if I start with -14, what happens? The entire string will be printed. The entire string will be printed. Am I clear? The entire string will be printed. Now here you see this. This is very interesting. You can use -1 as the right side index. -1. Then what happens? Python Pro is done. Am I clear? So that is the idea. What if I use 0 here? So what happened here? Python Pro. So fourth one, what happened to this? Oh, which one is printed? But when I use 0, because 0, this side it is taking. 0 means here positive, for that it is checking the left side. So that 0 index is there, left side 1 less than that. There is nothing, so nothing is printed here. Am I clear? It only goes up to -1 only. Please try to understand this. So this is the basic idea, my dear friends, about your, splicing operator. Okay, slicing means what? Piece. Is that clear? So you can experiment with this slicing operator. And there is one more important thing with slicing, you can do it. Okay, which I mentioned in this particular operators. This is called extended slicing operator. You can also give a stride. Stride means instead of printing everything, you can skip the number of values. So you can do slicing with this stride, extended slicing. You can also do what is known as extended slicing. For example, you can see this 0 to 6. Okay, so what we are doing in this extended slicing, my extended this one, we are using the stride, that is how much gap you want between the characters or between the values. So what we can do here is 0 to 8 in steps of 2. 0 to 8 in steps of 2 you want to go. So 0 is printed, then what happened? 2 missing. So you can just see what is happening here. So P is printed, then 2 skipped, then T is printed, then one fellow is skipped. That is in steps of 2 you are moving. In steps of 2 you are moving. 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, like that you are moving. So P, T, O, but after that 8 already reached means you can only go up to maximum 7. Suppose if you say 9, what happens? 0, it goes like this. It goes like this. 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, 9 means 1 less than that. Up to 8 you are moving. Up to 8 you are moving. So what is happening, sir? So if you write this, what is happening here? What will be the output? P, T, O are also printed. So you can also experiment with this extended slicing operator. Is that clear? And please remember this forward and backward indexing, my dear friend, because that is very, very important when you talk about any sequence. So this is not just restricted for strings. You can use this indexing operator, slicing operator, and this extended slicing operator with any of the sequences, my dear friends. Am I clear? So that is what, if either index is omitted, the beginning or end of the string is assumed respectively. So we already seen this. Okay, we already seen this. Suppose if you for example, if you miss the beginning, automatically beginning, that is start index, is assumed as 0. Start index is assumed as 0. Okay, it is not sorry, it is not a code cell. So what happens? So what happens? Automatically starting index is assumed. Suppose if you give the starting index and if you skip the last index, automatically the entire string we are going to get it. If you skip both fellows also, no problem, the entire string will be printed. Please note that. Okay, that is about slicing operator. So we understood what is indexing operator, slicing operator, and you can also do slicing with, a stride. That is, in how many steps you want to, or how you want to get the strings in a particular what do you call, by leaving a particular number of characters or values in between. That is it. Is that clear? Now concatenation operator. Of course, operators again we are going to discuss. Concatenation operator, suppose you are having string 1 hello, and you are having string 2 Babu, then you can concatenate string 1 plus string 2, automatically concatenate. Of course, it does not change string 1 and string 2. This hello Babu is a new string. You can assign it to some other third string, my dear friends. Third string you can assign. You can assign this string to a third string. That is, st3 will refer to this st1 plus st2. And you can check what is st3 content, which is hello Babu. Is that clear? So concatenation operator can be used, that is plus operator. But please be careful, sir. Suppose you are having one string hello, the next fellow is 5, you will get an error, because the concatenation must be between two strings only. You should be having same type, same sequence type, then only concatenation happens. Same string, same list, same tuples, then concatenation happens. If you use one list and one tuple, concatenation won't happen. They must be of same type. Please note that. Am I clear? So that is an error. Then we have string repeat operator. So you take any string and you multiply with a number, integer. Then what happens? The repetition will happen. Suppose if you do name 3, what happens? That hello will be repeated 3 times. And if you see here, name is, referring to the string hello, and you just use this repetition operator, but it does not change that object or the referencer. Only we created a new object which is repeating the string 3 times. If you try to print name after that, it is still hello only. Suppose if it is assigned to some other variable, if it is assigned to some string variable, then that string variable will be hello. Sorry, I think this one I not run. So previous value, it remember that it is writing. Don't get confused. See, if you don't run it, how it knows that string variable somewhere we return Sridhar, that particular value it is printing here. Please note that. So it is hello. Please note that. So please note this, my dear friends. With any sequences, we are having this indexing operator, slicing operator, extending slicing operator. See, we can find length of the string. For example, this length of the string we can find it, sir. So here we are having this. We can find length of this SV. What is the length, sir? Hello means 5 characters, 5 plus 5 plus 5, 13 characters. Okay, sorry. Hello is 5 characters, sorry. 5 plus 5 plus 5, 15 characters. Please be careful. You can find minimum. See, minimum means numbers, you can find what is minimum number. What about characters minimum? See, for capital letters, ASCII characters are there. For small letters, ASCII characters are there. For capital letters, ASCII character starts from somewhere 65 to 90. and for small letters I think it is 97 to 120 something. Okay, so that is what 122. Okay, so that is what it is. So it compares that. Suppose if I take what is minimum of, suppose if I take that particular character, for example, let me take some string variable, say hello, or let us say same fellow, same previous fellow, we can take it, that is minimum of SV. So H is the character, actually H is the only capital character. Or you can take one example like this, sir. For example, let us take a string variable which is say ABCD, small ABCD. So obviously ASCII value of capital A is smaller and ASCII value of small d is larger. So if you take minimum of this string variable, what happens? You are going to get capital A. And if you take maximum of this, you are going to get small d, because d is the fellow having the small ASCII value. Is that clear? Like that. So in this particular one, you want to check, is there any character or any value which is false? Am I clear? See, in a string, false means what, sir? In a string, false means empty character. Am I clear? So that is what it is. So generally this all and any mainly used for lists. Am I clear? List and tuples. Even for this, if you want, you can use, sir. For example, if I say all the string variable. So here all are true. Now let me make some space in between them. So still this space character is also considered as non-empty string only. So everything is positive. Any also will give you what, sir? True. So when it will be false, sir, for example, if I use empty string, in that case this any or all will give you false. Am I clear? Empty string, I think max iterable argument is empty. Empty is not allowed here for max. Okay, we should have at least one value here. That none should be there. For list and tuples it works. Okay, of course it works, but they are mainly used for list, tuples and other fellows. Am I clear? Please note that point. So that is about your string, my dear friends. See, we completed string part 1, that is the basic understanding of what is string object. We also have string methods. Later on, after completing our basic programming ideas, again we come back to this built-in data structures, like we try to discuss the strings, list, tuple, dictionary and sets in more detail, because you can discuss some methods. Okay, here we are giving the overview of all these built-in data structures. Later on, these concepts can be discussed in more detail in the sense we can also discuss the methods. That's it. Okay, if any method is required during our other topics, I'll discuss that particular function. For example, you can capitalize all the letters in a string. Okay, you can write the entire string in lowercase. Okay, so you just need to write string lower, it will convert the entire alphabets or characters in the string to the lower cases. That is what it is. Okay, so we have some string methods which can be discussed later on as a separate topic, my dear friends. Okay, now comes the interesting concept that is called type conversion. Yeah, so Python supports several built-in functions to complete conversions from one data type to another data types. So there are two types of conversions. One is called implicit conversion. So generally they call it as type coercion, implicit conversion, and the second one is explicit conversion. Explicit conversion is also known as type conversion or type casting. Am I clear? See, generally this implicit conversion is generally happens between between integer floats and integer complex, float complex, between them only it will happen, because that implicit conversions will not happen, because you just now seen, you take a string and you add an integer to it, it will not accept that. Implicit conversions won't happen, sir. You need to either convert both of them to strings, then we can concatenate. Okay, so this implicit conversion means automatic conversion of data from one type to another type during the operation, and Python is dynamically typed, so it performs type coercion implicitly in certain situation, not always, sir. So don't imagine like every time the type conversions will happen. Just try to understand this. This conversions happens between numbers. Okay, so let us see this. For example, let me add an integer to a float fellow. So what happens? This integer will be converted to float and both are added and you are going to get the answer. Okay, so that is what happens. Now let us do one thing. Let us add an integer to a complex number. Even this is possible. So this integer is converted to complex and they are added. Now let us add a float to a complex. That is also possible. You can always do it, sir. What happens? This will be converted to complex numbers will be added. So this is obvious thing, sir. Okay, so there is nothing much need to be worried about it. But what is very interesting is, suppose you are having an integer and you added true to it. That is a bool variable you added. What happens? The bool variable is considered as 1 here. That is, true is converted to 1 and the operation will perform 2 plus 1, which is true. Am I clear? Same case, if I do like print 3.45 plus true, what happens? So what happens? True will be converted to 1 and that is added to this 3.45. Is that clear? You can also try this 4 plus 3j. I am writing only true because false means obviously 0, same value you are going to get. So always I am writing true here. You want, you can try with false also. Be careful, true with capital T. So what happened? 4 plus 1, 3j. Now what if I give false here instead of true? False means 0. So 0 plus 0j. So you're going to get the same fellow. Am I clear? Like that. So this implicit type conversion happens between the numbers, my dear friends. So you are having int float, okay, int complex, okay, float complex, that can be done automatically, my dear friends. Please note that. Now comes the explicit type conversion. Okay. See, if you remember under input functions, that is input and output functions, I discussed this type conversion like int, float and evaluate functions. I discussed in more detail. Okay, there's a video separately on that. You can just go through it. Here also I'm going to explain, but that is for mainly for input output function. Input output functions are very, very important. So I just want you to go through that. Okay, that is video number 12 or something. Okay, this is 14th video in our Python, right? So now this int, convert a number or string to an integer or return 0 if no argument is given. See, if you want to understand about any of this type conversion functions, if you just write this int, it will tell you about that, what it will do. So what happens if you give like 3.45, float is converted to integer. Now suppose if you give 3 plus 5j, what do you expect? 3 plus 5j. So generally you expect 3 or 5, but please be careful. We cannot convert complex to int using int function. Int function cannot convert complex to integer, my dear friend. Please note. Okay, it must be string. Okay, but not complex. I also given complex to int is not possible using int function. Complex to int is not possible. Similarly, complex to float is also not possible using float function. Please note that point, sir. It is not possible. It is not possible. Okay. Then we have string. See, generally sometimes what happens, if the string is in the decimal format, it will be converted, sir. Of course, here because there is an error, because of that it stops executing. Let me close that and tell. So this is possible. If the string is in decimal format, then it will be converted to integer, my dear friends. See, actually, one very interesting point which I want you to understand. Suppose you are having string in this string using only decimal values, and here if you mention the base, what happens? This 23 will be converted to base 2. Oh, sorry. Okay, 1 second. Oh, sorry, 23. How I can use for base 2, 2, 3, sir? 1011. Yeah. So this 1011. So please remember, if you are using base 2 means you can use only 01. Actually, here you can also try base 3. Base 3 means you can only use 0, 1, 2. Okay, 1, 2, 0, 2, 1. And you want to convert to base 3. It will be converted to base 3, my dear friends. Even base 3 you can convert. Base 4 you can convert. Base 5 you can convert. You can convert to base 8. That is octal. It's a base 8 fellow. You can convert it to base 16. All these are possible, my dear friends. So just change this number, base 20. Let us try. I don't know. Even that is possible. So just that conversion will be done, my dear friends. So, but if it is decimal fellow, only number is required. But if it is different base, you have to mention that particular base. And of course, if it is a base 2, you can use only 0, 1. If it is base 20, you can use numbers from 0 to 20 only. But I don't know how these numbers are taken. Am I clear? For example, for 16 we know. For 16, 0 to 9, A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay, but for 20, I do not know what values are taken for that. Maybe you can extend like, F, G, H, I, J, K like that. Let us try that if you want. A, B, D, C. So this is converted to base 16. So let me try this. What happened? Yeah. Let me try base 20. Let me try G, H. It works. Like, 0, A is 10, B is 11, C is 12, like that it goes up to, 19, up to 19, whatever, character for that, you please try to identify. Up to that, it will be done. I also, I think, works up to 20, na? K also. K, I think it is beyond the base. Okay. Please note that. How many you can take? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Up to J you can use it. Okay, beyond that you are not going to get it. Let me use J then. J also get it. But if you use K, this base 20, it goes beyond that. Please note that. So like that, my dear friends. Am I clear? So for this different base, you just need to mention that particular base, my dear friends. Okay, please note that. And complex to int is not possible. And for float, converting a string or a number to floating point number is done if possible. So using float, suppose integer is given, it is obviously converted to 3.0. That is not a big deal. But if it is a string, then it will be converted to 3.0. Am I clear? And if it is 3.4567, it will be converted to 3.4567. So float will convert that string, and that string must be the proper floating point format, either in the fractional format or the scientific format. So let me try this with one more. Like, I try with this float, 3.3456 E minus 12. This is also possible because scientific format is also possible. So it should be a proper form of a float number. Within that string, you should have the proper format of a float, then that can be converted to float using float function. Complex to float is not possible. Please note, complex to float is not possible. You want, you can verify that, sir. Complex to float is not possible. It will give you an error. Say sorry, you cannot convert. Am I clear? Please remember that. Then we have this complex. It creates a complex number from real part, imaginary part. Actually, while discussing complex, I already told you. Complex 2, 3, you can write. So what it will do, it will give you a complex number. Am I clear? You can try that with complex 2. You can give only the real part also, it works. Okay, it should be complex, otherwise there is an error. Like that, 2 plus 0 change. So complex real part and imaginary part you can provide by difference. Is that clear? Like that. Then comes bool. See, using bool function you can convert, okay, see, any value which is true, okay, is converted to true. See, if it is an integer, 0 is false, other than 0 everything is true. For floating also 0 or 0.0 is false, remaining all are true only. And string, empty string is false, any other string is true only. That is exactly what I given. And none, bool of none is what? What about bool of none? Please think about it. What about bool of none? Bool of none will be also false. Okay. None represent absence of the value. So you can just try this, sir. You take bool of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It will give you what? True. Because any non-zero value you will get true. Suppose if I put 0, it will be false. Now if I put 0.00, then it will be false. Because 0 fractional or 0 integer, it will be 0. Now you take anything 0.000001, it will be true because it is non-zero. It will be considered as true. And if you take a string bool, if you take empty string, then it will be false. Other than empty string, if you take anything, even a single character, it will be true. Am I clear? And what about bool of none? It will be false. Please note that. That is about bool. Now string. So the numbers can be converted to string. Okay. Create a string using string function. You can convert them to, for example, earlier we are having a problem like, hello plus 5. This is not possible. Why? This concatenation is not possible, sir. Why it is not possible? Because this is string type and this is number type. Okay, but here hello cannot be converted to number because there are no decimal or no integers or no decimal values here. Okay, so here we can convert this 5 to string. This 5 can be converted to string. Then what happens? 5 will be converted to string and hello and 5 will be concatenated. That can be done. Is it clear? So generally if you are having any number, that can be converted to a string format. That is it. And this is one very interesting function which we generally use together with this input function. See, generally what is this input function, my dear friends? Okay, suppose you are having a variable x. Okay, input variable, or input function, sorry. Input function, you say enter the value. See, normally the input function returns a string. Whatever you enter, it is returned as a string. Whatever you enter, it is returned as a string. So suppose if you run it, so here if you enter something like 123, so what happens? This x value if you print, okay, sorry. Okay, and if you print this x value, sorry, 123, that x value is taken as this string. But sometimes what happens, the input values, whatever you give, it is actually converted, it is actually returned as a string, but you want to take an integer value. In such case, what we do, whatever input you given, you convert them to either integer or float or required type using the type conversion function. But if you do not know whether you are going to input integer or float, in such case, we better use this eval function. We better use this eval function. So depending on the type of the value, or even if you give some expression, depending on that expression result, that is converted to appropriate type, like whether it is integer or float, and that is assigned to x, my dear friend. So that is exactly what happens here. Suppose I take this y is equal to eval function. Enter first number, enter second number. Let us write like this. After entering the values, I want to add them. See, without using this type conversion function eval or type conversion function like int, float, what happens? The numbers whatever you entered, they are they are taken as what? Strings only. For example, let me remove this first and show you. Suppose if I remove this and run this, See, whatever you enter, even if you enter two integers for both the inputs, they are considered as strings and the strings will be concatenated. So let me just show this. So I enter 123, then I enter second number 234. See what happened. First one is taken as string 123, second one also taken as string 234, and because both are string, plus operator means concatenation of those two strings happened. So you get 123, 234. So what I need to do, whatever input I am going to give, I need to convert them to integers. I need to convert them to integers if I know they are integers. But if I do not know whether I am going to give integer, float or anything, in such cases it is better to give eval function. It is better to give eval function. So depending on the type of that expression, the value is automatically converted to that particular type. So for example, let us run this, my dear friends. So enter the first number. So here I write 123.45. Enter the second number, I write 456. Now what happened? First one, x will be float, y will be integer, but when you add them, because automatic type conversion will happen, so the result is sum of them, my dear friends. Is that clear? So this is about your type conversion functions. Is that clear? If you are having any doubt, you can ask me. So this is about your string and type conversion. In the next session, tomorrow, maybe around same time or 8, okay, 8 or 9, please join my Telegram group. Please join my Telegram group for regular updates, my dear friends. CS_Sridhar. This is my Telegram group. For regular updates, you can join my Telegram group. Okay, or you can subscribe to this particular MACSGATE YouTube channel. Am I clear? There you can get regular updates. Press bell icon so that whenever we notify, you get the notification for that. Am I clear? So here mainly there are two sessions happening simultaneously. One is DBMS by Sudhakar Reddy sir. He already started, 2 sessions over. So in the playlist you can find DBMS playlist, you can find the sessions or classes taken by Sudhakar sir. Introduction and relational model part 1 is completed. Now for Python, so initially the basics I given it like, you know, small videos. Am I clear? You can just go through them. From data types and variables onwards, I am doing live sessions. So this is my second live session, and tomorrow we have data types and variables, third live session. Data types and variables 3, third live session. So where we are mainly talking about the other sequence types. Am I clear? See, here we are trying to give overview of all this built-in non-scalar types. Actually they are called as container types. As I told you, here strings we completed, basic strings. Later on towards the end again we talk about strings, where we talk about string methods also. Similarly for other built-in data structures like list, tuple. See, for everything, if it is a sequence, the operations which we discussed today, like indexing operator, slicing operator, extended slicing operator, the length, min, max, you know, that concatenation, and also that repeat operations are common. For every sequence, this is common. So if you understand this properly, it is very much same for list. You just need to understand what is list type. List is a mutable type. So that small variation will be there. Okay. So if you understand, you can easily work on them, my dear friends. Am I clear? So data types and variables part 3. Tomorrow we talk about the remaining sequence types. Okay. So that's all for today. If you have any doubts, you can message either in comment session, or you can reach in this Telegram group, my dear friends. Okay, that's all. You can also reach me through WhatsApp. These numbers. Okay, thank you.